the world. An exciting journey across this planet of ours to watch the world and its people at work and at play. Today we'll go down to the sea in a diving bell, visit with Degrazia the artist, and play with fireworks. So join us now as we watch the world.
It was the Chinese who gave the world fireworks thousands of years ago. Pyrotechniques lighting up the sky on festive occasions. Today, fireworks are made in nearly all lands, and this English factory is one of the many that supply the rockets and pinwheels, the firecrackers and sparklers for holiday celebrations on the British Isles. In these scenes, paper goes around wooden cones, forming a hollow shell that contains a fireworks appropriately called Mount Vesuvius. Another kind of firecracker in the making, hollow tubes for what the English call squibs. They're made by rolling paper around metal rods. These shells are made in all different shapes, but with the same purpose in mind, to explode into harmless fire in the air. In this country, we associate fireworks with the 4th of July. In England, the big day for pyrotechniques is Guy Fawkes Day in November. Years ago, it was a dangerous pastime, shooting off firecrackers. Nowadays, there are laws to regulate their use, and the danger is reduced. The factories that make firecrackers must also conform to rigid regulations. The powder that goes into the hollow shells must be stored in one place, and the job of filling the shells is done in small huts within the factory. After the filling is completed, the firecrackers are sealed by glue at either end, a dipping process. All kinds of fireworks, from the little firecrackers to the special products you see here. It's a rainbow wheel, one of the real masterpieces of any fireworks factory. Each of the 6 spokes of the wheel has a charge of powder connected to one another by a fuse, and when it's set off on the ground, it spins around in a blazing whirl, a safe but exciting display that adds the touch of a Roman holiday to the fun of fireworks. The English have different names for their firecrackers than we have for ours, such as forge fires, witches' cauldrons, and emerald cascades. But fireworks in the sky are the same the world over, symbols of celebration. Since the dawn of history, man has been striving to conquer the 4 great worlds within this planet of ours: the land, the air, the sea, and under the sea. Today, only the world that lies below the waves remains entirely outside man's domination, a world of untold wealth in many forms. So no wonder so many people go calling at the Sparling Deep-Sea Diving School at Wilmington, California, a school that teaches one of the world's most dangerous and demanding occupations. After enrollment, the students soon learn that theirs is a floating classroom, a barge offshore from which they will dive into the waters of the Pacific Ocean for the first time. But before classwork reaches that stage, there is plenty of advanced education to soak up. They must know everything about the helmet they will wear underwater, knowledge that might save their lives in the event of an accident. The helmet has valves which regulate the intake and outgo of air, other valves that regulate the pressure inside the diving suit. Hours are spent in a decompression chamber on land, learning the fundamentals of pressure on submerged bodies. This all comes under the heading of the physics of diving, a study that every graduate of the diving school must understand completely. All students must pass rigid physical examinations before they're accepted at the school. A disease involving the ear would disqualify a candidate, because that would bring on complications when the student is exposed to increased air pressure. For this same reason, no one is allowed to dive if he has a cold or other similar illness, such as sinus and sore throat. It would affect the ear and cause trouble for the diver. In addition to the decompression chamber, there is a practice tank at the school where the students dive under the careful eye of their instructors. And once they have advanced from that stage of training, they are ready for diving in the deep ocean water. More hours of practice that will lead to a solo dive later on. Diving gear, of course, is checked thoroughly before every dive. The rubber dress, the helmet, the breastplate, the heavy lead shoes, and all the other equipment. This is the breastplate cushion on which the helmet rests. The shoes have lead soles, hardwood upper soles, leather uppers, and brass toe caps. Each one weighs 20 pounds. 2 tenders dress the diver, and they are responsible for his safety underwater. The tenders must make sure the buckles of the shoes are on the inside and that the laces are tight. The loss of a shoe below the surface would be serious, since it would shift the center of the diver's weight. The breastplate, a heavy metal shoulder pad which holds the helmet secure to the rest of the gear. There are clamps held on by wing nuts, and at the front are 2 pad eyes which hold the lifeline and the airline. The tenders check the fit of the dress before attaching a weighted belt to the diver. On this belt is a knife, which the diver uses to cut plant life that might hinder his travels underwater. The belt also supports a strap which helps to keep the helmet intact. Now the helmet. This is screwed on the breastplate. The helmet is made of spun copper with 4 little windows, one at the front, one above near the top, and one on each side, thus enabling the diver to look out in almost any direction. Also inside the helmet are the openings that bring in air and the telephone line to the diver while he's below the surface. As the diver goes into the water, 198 pounds of gear around his body, one of the tenders must hold the lifeline and the airline firmly to prevent the diver from slipping or falling. The diver keeps his body between the flow of the current and his descending line, so that the current will not pull him away from the line. And he goes down with a speed which permits him to equalize pressure and, as so to speak, pop his ears. This diver has been assigned to a job of welding a pontoon, and the pontoon soon comes up, popping up from under the sea. Then, the vigil. There he is. In coming up, as in going down, the diver must go through various stages of decompression. The number of stages depend on how far down the diver's work is done and how long he remains there. Take, for example, a diver working at a level of around 200 feet for over an hour. It would require nearly 4 hours to bring him up. Deep sea divers are paid well, some earning $200 a day. But it's a job only for men who can smile in the face of sudden death.
In the barren mountains near Tucson, Arizona, a new American artist, Ted Degrazia, starts his day in a different fashion from most artists. Pottery making is among man's oldest and simplest arts. And for Degrazia, it starts with sawing off the full-shaped end of a giant saguaro cactus. If you live in desert country like Arizona, says Degrazia, you'll find the materials you need in your own home, and the wild-growing cactus will always serve as a mold. In selecting a model, we should try to find a one-piece mold such as this cactus end. However, the cactus tip must first lose its rows of prickly spines, and a blowtorch does the job best. A cardboard box can serve as a form. After the cactus is placed with its largest measurement down, plaster of Paris is poured over the model. This powder is mixed with as much water as you need to fill the form without the plaster. Incidentally, the plaster of Paris is added to the water, never the other way around. The plaster of Paris should take at least a half hour to harden. When the mold is hard enough, the form and model are removed. The vegetable interior of the cactus tip is removed first. The original cactus lifts clear. It has a coating of lard to make it separate without binding. Clay, or slip, is put into the plaster of Paris mold. The thick clay is worked into all parts of the mold and shaped to an even thickness. In sunny, dry weather, the clay soon separates from the sides of the mold. It's pretty fragile at this stage and usually is allowed to dry overnight. Degrazia next puts the clay cast into an outdoor kiln he built himself. A temperature of 2,000 degrees hardens the clay to rock. But Degrazia's rising claim to fame rests in his painting. Many homes in the Southwest bear his murals. Mexico's leading artists, Diego Rivera and Jose Clemente Orozco, agree his work will reach first rank. The Cockfight is one of his better-known works. His Papago Indian dance is concerned not so much with the figures as their surroundings. Devil Dance captures the swirling action of masked Indian braves. Gold miner, ceramic artist, painter, Degrazia brings color out of the barren desert country of Arizona.
Join us again for another exciting journey across this planet of ours as we watch the world.